My name is Torrey Podmajersky. I am super excited to be here with you today. I wrote this book called Strategic Writing for UX 5 years ago. I was supposed to be here 5 years ago, and instead we all had a lovely pandemic. We all stayed home. I'm the president of Catbird Content, and in that and in my prior roles at Google and Microsoft and some other places, I get to do all of this crazy stuff where we actually work on the design language. So Brad and others have co-opted this phrase of design language to mean all of the colors. I mean the words. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to start with sort of a shared memory we might have. So consider this page from your scrapbook. Maybe it's a page from my scrapbook and not yours. I don't want to put it on you. Where we have you, the designer, right? You've been working on this design. You're very aligned with your PM or your product owner who owns the product, right? You've got all of this going on, and then there's that one guy. Maybe they're an executive. Maybe they're just an influential worker there, and they lean in and say, maybe they don't see anything yet, but they lean in and they really think their opinion is better than yours. Oh, bless his heart. Leans in, his opinion is better than yours, and suddenly all of your wonderful design decisions, and here I'm specifically talking about how he's leaning in, he's like, oh, I don't know about colors. I don't know about fonts. That's very specialized. But I use words all the time. I'm really good at words. I got great grades in school about how I used words. So he comes in. We sometimes use this phrase, maybe you're familiar with it, that he is the hippo, the highest paid person's opinion. And he comes over and he hippos all over your design. And suddenly, it's no longer meeting usability. It's no longer meeting brand guidelines. And it's his opinion. So imagine if he comes in, his opinion is better than yours. He might even say it nicely and remind you that he's worked on this. He says, my text was very clear. I worked very hard on it. Imagine if you, as the designer, could say, oh, our pattern is this. We're going to get to this verb, the noun pattern in just a little bit. But imagine if you could just say, here's this pattern we've already decided on. Much like if you're using design tokens especially, you can already say, oh, yes, this is our green that we use. We have the hex code. It's just fine. Say, our pattern is this. And then if you can even back that up with the reason for it. Like, we improve engagement when we lead with the action here. Oh. Suddenly, maybe this scenario goes a little better. It's that one guy, though, so you never know. Like, this is not a guarantee, but you have a better opportunity. So what I want you to take away from this, and what a lot of my career is based on, is that the good UX content is never just opinions. Back in the early days of websites, and anybody could code them, including me, I could choose whatever font I wanted. Oh my goodness, and did I? Did I ever? I am not in charge of these decisions. But the semantic decisions about how we convey ideas, how we convey action, how we inspire to action, we can systematize that. That's what I'm going to talk about today. But first I want to set us at a level of which content? It's the UX content. And I'm going to define that for you. Some of you were here in my workshop earlier, and you've already seen part of this definition. It's okay, you can just chill out for a second, feel superior. It's good. So, UX content is the content that lets people do what they came there to do, right? It's the stuff that this is made of for any of our companies that make products or experiences or services that people need to use. If your company does that, or if your organization does that, they're doing this. They are attracting people in, they're converting them into users. That's sort of the funnel that we hear about from marketing. Then they need to onboard them. Like, okay, you're using the experience now. Maybe you had to put in your phone number. Maybe you had to read a pop-up that says, here's how you do a thing. Then you're engaging in it. We're going to measure the heck out of that engagement and try to maximize it. Sometimes your experience might break, right? And we want to support people through that. But really, we want to be transforming people into people who come back and use it again, right? Or bring their friends, bring their relations, tell their company about it, get a big license, right? You want repeat business from this. So your business is like, yes, this is how I'm going to do it. So you go out and you work hard at attracting people. Have you ever seen advertising that tries too hard? Maybe in a social media profile, maybe in a dating profile. When we make content that just is about what we are trying to do, it's very self-centered. It's very ineffective. But instead, if we try to make content that reaches what the person's trying to do, when they're coming in to potentially use this, we say not like we're being super attractive right now, but we say, hey, you're here to investigate whether this will work for you, right? You want to verify that. You want to commit to it, right? This is signing on the bottom line. Whether it's you're a CFO committing to a big contract or you just downloaded a casual game. Those are all moments of commitment. Then you're going to set it up. That might be a long process, might be a very short process. Then you're going to use it. You're not thinking about being engaged with it all of the time, I hope. If things break, you'll fix it. You might come to prefer and champion it. You might go to conferences about it, right? Especially if it's software at work. The deal with content, which is my specialty, it's what I do the most of in my professional life, is it works on all of these levels, right? When people are investigating, we reach them with ads, with articles, with social media, et cetera, product pages. When people are committing, they're verifying, it might not even be content that we create, like reviews, product reviews. But we need to be aware, we need to make it easy for people to make good reviews, right, at the right moments. We also make get started guides, first run experiences, how-to content for people to get started well. The how-to content stays around as they get engaged, right? And sometimes they don't even need the how-to content, but they like to know it's there, to feel confident about it. They might even have game and experience content, the narrative's there. If things break, then we get into the troubleshooting content, right? Maybe this looks like a how-to content, but you really only ever need it when things break. We also have badges and profile ratings, things that make it sticky, things that make it so that people come back over and over again. Holy mackerel, that's a lot of content. We are not talking about all of it today. This is an intentionally overwhelming slide. But next time you're like, oh, we'll just send people to the how-to content for troubleshooting. Think about how different the person's experience is right there and how they might be in a different mindset. Okay, so the key takeaway here is that UX content is the content for doing, right? You're not, and with the patterns I'm going to show you today, it is not about applying those patterns to your marketing and to your attractive website and your Instagram posts and your TikTok videos. This is just really, actually all I'm going to show you today is patterns for the UI text, even a narrower set. So it's content for doing. But why does this need any help at all, right? Let's talk about how design get slowed down with the content. Actually, quick poll. Have you ever been in a meeting where everybody is aligned on the design, but all you end up talking about is like one button or a title? I'm seeing, yeah, I see a hand or two. I see some nods. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about that. This is clearly how design works, right? Design starts, you do some design, you do some review, you hand it off. Life is beautiful, right? That's not how that works. And it's not just one person, right? It's design and review and design and review, design and review, and a big handoff process because there's more discussions to happen there. And it's not just one person doing the design, right? Like you might be the designer in the room. You might be the only designer at your company, but everybody has an opinion about it, including that one guy. But even after that, we've got more design and review after handoff, right, for those edge cases. So how do we make this faster? Well, we can use AI, right? We can shorten that initial design period, possibly. Scott's going to tell us more about that at the end of the day. We might be able to get this a little bit better, and we could save a little money. Right? We get to design complete faster. That means money saved. Legit? Sure. But we haven't changed it very much. What if we got it even shorter because we started with some patterns? For example, like with the design tokens, when we already know, like, here's our brand colors, here's a system, I'm just going to import these, there's a system. I don't have to go through all of my mood boards to find a new green for Starbucks' new offering. Thank heavens. So it can make things a lot shorter, but here's the magic. What really happens when you implement any design system, including patterns like I'm about to tell you about, our review cycles get shorter because we don't have to rediscuss every reason for every decision. We can reference why we made those decisions and remind people that, especially that one guy, that he's already agreed to that. So if he thinks there's a problem with that now, well, then there's an awful lot of old decisions that he made that were very good, but do we need to look into those again? That one guy does not want all of his past decisions rehashed. So let's use that. We can save a lot more money if we can shorten everything a little bit. So we're going to use patterns, just like we use the rest of design patterns, to save time, not only in our design, but in our reviews. But really with content? But content, we just think that up, right? So, if you include content in your design system, and some of you are already doing that, and thank you, right? We've had components for 10 or 12 years. We've had content being used in that in sort of like a side area for a little while. And the most common way is in these practicalities. So this is the sidebar in the content design page in the Atlassian design system. And we have things like capitalization and dashes and lists and how we're going to do that, and what about numbers? Do you guys have like a doc somewhere about like, oh God, numbers? Yeah. And some of you know where that doc is, and some of you are the people that everybody like messages. Wait, where's that document about the numbers? I have to do numbers. There's even one here, when all else fails. It's a good system. You have to have these practicalities somewhere. But you can also have its personality, right? This is the voice qualities for Duolingo. Notably, they don't say, yell at people and make them feel guilty. But they do say, like, let's make it expressive and playful. It's excellent. From our voice workshop the other day, I shared this offer up voice chart, where it gets even more into it. Like, here is our content. our concepts, our capitalization and punctuation, and how those roll up to our brand principles. Because our brand principles and our product principles should be driving all of this. And those principles, like here for Zendesk, those principles should be not universal, but universal to that product. What should this product be to people? And if we don't know that, then that one guy can just keep coming up with a new thing our product should be every meeting. That guy. But to land all of that and to get people to use it, that's critical, right? Get people to use it. Patterns can really help. So in our design components, and to reference Brad's tiers there, this would not be at the highest tier. This would be at the middle or even lower tier, where you're saying, for this kind of use case, do it this way. Most design components just say, like, there's a title, there's a description, you've got a primary button and a secondary button. Sweet. Design component done. But is that the content you want in there? Title. Title. Everybody loves clicking on primary. That really converts. That was sarcasm. But if instead you say something like verb the noun, click the button, and then the button says click. That actually won't convert either because nobody knows why they're clicking it. But that gives you not only that layout and that typography and the states, and it gives you why you would use it. It gives you how you would start drafting that. It gives you something before you go to ChatGPT. It says, oh, this should meet this purpose. Now, let's see how that works with these text patterns to speed you up. In my book, the second edition of which is coming out at the end of July, because I just turned that in last week. Yes. Second edition. In the second edition, we have all of these UI text patterns. In this presentation, I'm going to show you most of them. Let's go through them. I have silly examples for many of these. This is probably the most silly because this Seek app that it uses AI to tell you, like, what's this animal that I'm seeing, or what's this plant that I'm seeing, thought that in the Pacific Northwest, where I live, of the United States, that there was legitimately a western gray kangaroo outside my door. There was not. Yeah, there was a deer. And this is also maybe the easiest pattern to understand. It's just a piece of information. This is like an article or it's just an item. So all we need to do is give it context. So the pattern is just use the name of the context. Use the name people would recognize. Use the keywords that people expect to see. Pretty easy, right? So I'm using like curly brackets there, which means replace this whole thing, please. And it just provides that clarity. People know where they are. If I want somebody to do something, however, verb the noun is a great way to get there. Sign in to the account, right? And then the pattern really necessarily is a starting place for iteration. This is very much unlike those design tokens. Starbucks brand green is not a starting place for which greens you might like. This is very much a starting place. So sign in to the account, sign in with your account, sign in with your Cornell Lab account. Cool. Gets all of that across. And then I'm going to keep the button and the title verb the same. Because frequently people will scan the title, look for the verb, like look for the button. Scan the title, look for the button. If they match, people feel good about going forward. Sweet. Also, we want to help people notice those keywords, so we keep it brief. Those buttons then, we're going to have that verb, we're going to have that verb the noun there. We have the create an account, which also follows that pattern, but has a different verb than the title and a different verb than the other button, right? So we have some necessary contrast there. Have you ever clicked the wrong thing in a menu because it's spelled similarly to the other menu item, or it has the same first letter? You know, oh, crap, I chose forward instead of file again, or whatever it is. There's all sorts of tips and patterns and purpose on here, and I did that because I knew I'd see your phones come out. So you'll have more information when you get home than you're getting from me verbally right now. That's just a thing. Menu items. Menu items sometimes are nouns, sometimes are verbs, sometimes are both nouns and verbs. And there are times when you have that one guy, and sometimes very intelligent people, saying, oh, but they should all be nouns. Or this one's a verb, so they should all be verbs. Our languages and our behavior is not particularly consistent, though. It is frequently a great idea to have them all be sort of matching. And the content term for that is a parallel list. That can be great, but it's more important that you've designed them as a set so that people know which ones to choose and they are contextually appropriate to that moment right there. You also want, so whenever you're designing a new feature, and because you are an excellent designer, you say, great, what's the entry point for this? And if you ever have a product owner who's like, oh, we're going to work on that later. Yeah, big red flag, because you need to know, what are we calling it? What's the word that will be in people's minds when they come here? Because it will be on that menu, and that needs to work with other things in that menu as a set. Good stuff. Menu items get much harder when you need to have them inside an entire taxonomy. So this is an example from Craigslist where you have not only for sale, but you have all of the different things that could be for sale. And on Craigslist, that's many things. Many, many things. Still, you want nouns and verbs that make sense in that context. Right? Okay. Descriptions. Descriptions are some of the hardest text that we write because that has so many things it has to do. It needs to set expectations for how somebody will use this product. Notice this is not descriptions for marketing content. This is descriptions for when people need to use it. So frequently, people won't read this. People will read it if they're uncertain about how to use this, if they are not new to a language, but like they're not confident that they're getting all of the language right, then they will read everything on the screen. And if it's really important, like if it's a governmental web page that you could end up owing the government hundreds of dollars or hundreds of euros, you're going to read every word very carefully. It also is a great place to establish your brand and to reduce liability for the company. Like, this is where your caveats come in. Like, this is for everything you want except for these things. So I have a few patterns here, like to do X, to do the thing you came here to do, verb this noun. Cool. Or I might want to be persuasive, like verbing the noun, that maybe I told you to verb a noun in the title. Verbing the noun helps you do this thing that you want to do, X. Or maybe it's, if X happens, you'll see this Y other thing. Right? These are very generic patterns, right? And you can use them in you can apply them to most of the context you're in. There's also some rules for using it. You want to have in English, this was researched for English, you want to have no more than 3 lines deep, because otherwise people will not remember that there was text there unless it was a lot of lines deep, and then they'll say, oh yeah, I didn't read it, it was a wall of text. But if it's 3 lines or fewer, people will actually at least be able to pick out keywords and see if it's for them. We also want to avoid asterisks, and using keywords at the ends of lines. Frequently, people put keywords at the very beginning of a line, which is the most crowded part in the F-shaped scan that we do. But if your keyword is hanging out there in space, then people are like, oh, that's the part I need. It's pretty cool. So this example here is from a router that I use at home. The Amplify Teleport allows you to bring the digital comforts of home with you, no matter how far away you are, all without a monthly fee. As the user, I have no idea what that means, right? I did not set this up. I don't know what teleporting is, outside of Star Trek. What? But if I rewrite it after reading some other marketing documents and figuring out what does this do, I rewrote it using this pattern, using the verbing the noun pattern. Teleporting through your Amplify helps you use your home network on a VPN with no monthly fee. Oh, I get it now. So, when we get farther than titles, buttons, and descriptions, we get into places where all of those come together. So like an empty state, a fantastic place to showcase your brand, right? Because this is probably a new user, definitely somebody new to this feature, and you want to tell them how awesome it is. Right? And you also want it to look like it's not empty, it's not broken. It's just not full yet. So here in this old version of Reddit app, your chats will show up here. Great. If you went to go start this, you could say, if there's something they can do, you would say, verb the noun. To do this thing, do this other thing. You might even give them a button of that verb in that empty state. Here, they can start chatting. They might do that. If there's no action available, you might just say, if or when this X happens, you'll see why. So this also comes together using labels, right? So labels are like menu items, only they're not hot, right? Like you can't click on them usually. And we just want the nouns, the units, the numbers, and we want them to be as specific as possible. Not incredibly descriptive, as some PMs have told me on like this table inside Google Ads. We need this to be a very descriptive title. No, we don't. We need to use the word, maybe the two-word phrase that people will come to recognize and associate with this. We have transitions and confirmations. So transitions needs to tell you that a thing is happening. And this happens at the top of Google Documents. It says saving, and then as you stop typing, it says saved. Here it says saved to Drive because they want to promote where it's saved to. You can use ellipses or spinners or other things. This is gives you a visible way to do this when besides using spinners, where like it might be confusing what's happening. Like I can see you're thinking there, computer, website, app. What are you thinking about? Confirmations finish that thought, like we just saw with saved. We also can use our verb tenses here, like saving versus saved, if you are working in a language that has verb tenses. Otherwise, and in fact, when providing this kind of text to be localized, I frequently add comments to the code or help my developer add appropriate comments to the code for the localizer that says, oh, sometimes we just need process name is complete for that, for it to be translated appropriately, right? For languages without verb tenses. I am not a grammarian. I am not a person who ever studied grammar. I'm actually terrible at it. I'm terrible at talking about it because I know how contentious like talking about it can be. So I get a little stumbly over that. So transition and confirmation. Notifications is another place where several of these come together. So verb the noun to do X. To do X, verb the noun. Verbing the noun helps you do X. what's really important here is that you are meeting the purpose of your notification. And again, I'm not talking about marketing notifications, although this kind of applies there too. We're just trying to inform or remind the person to interact with the experience in a particular way. But then there's errors. Do you guys raise your hand high if you design your error messages and if you provide language for them? Bless you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Many times I have seen working inside teams, the designers are asked to move so quickly on whatever the hero part, the golden path is for their designs, that it's, oh, no, the PM and the dev will write the error messages when it comes time. Oh. Actually, this whole set of patterns came out because I was told, nope, you can't work on error messages anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's a very bad idea. They said, no, you don't have any time. I also needed to hire more UX writers at the time. They said, just give the developers the instructions they need to be able to do it. So I said, okay, tell them what to do. Verb the noun. So here we have, please select a title. Please enter your first name. Please enter your family name. Please enter your date of birth. That's 4 words on the screen that we didn't need, because they probably didn't need to be asked please, right? They're here to do a thing. Please let them do the thing and stop saying please and putting extra words on my screen. In the detours, so a detour is an error where they're not quite getting it right yet, or something's not right yet, but there is another way for them to get there, and the app can help you do it. So this is not like road closed. This is, oh, come with me, come this other way, over here. So here we have a title, verb the noun. Why don't we just tell them what they can do? Excellent. Tell them what they can do. I can describe the problem, like, because the code you entered doesn't exist, check the code and try again. And then the button verb matches that verb in the title. Sweet, gets people there. It doesn't even have to sound like an error. It just can sound like a modal or a dialogue. In a blocking error, though, this one, I had to stop a group game of Among Us. I'm like, no, I need a screenshot. Because the original error was Among Us auto 2526 forcibly disconnected because reliable packet without response. Solid. Right, and I even suspect that this was concatenated behind the scenes. It's like, here is this, give the client name or the something, forcibly disconnected because, and then import some error code flag name. Cool. Does that help somebody continue? Like, nothing helped me continue here. I even polled my team at the time, and I'm like, does this help you continue? What do you think I should do? And they're like, turn it off and turn it on again. Oh, no. But if it said, disconnected from server, because your computer didn't respond to our server, you can't play until you reconnect. Sweet. And that's just like a couple moments of work applying the pattern. So, which content does this apply to? UX content, gold star. Design gets slowed down, really not because of the designing, but because of the review. Because you're remaking those decisions over and over again. So how do you avoid remaking those decisions about text over and over again? Use text patterns to speed you up. And you can even embed the right text patterns in your design components to get everybody on that same page. That is a very hard thing to do. And you have to keep reminding people, like, this is not about rigid adherence. This is about giving you a fast place to start from. So, thank you very much.